Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom.
I watch my children and their interactions, brother and sister, 1 8, 1 6. They share a room, and mostly it's good, but there's some times where it's not as good. And they're getting older, and they have different needs. And when you have people so close in the same space, siblings or friends, and sometimes everybody carves out their place, and there can be some fighting, and everybody's wrestling to find room for themselves in the situation that they're in. And we know what that feels like, because every single person in this world has experienced them more or less. It's part of life. And so this week in our Parsha, we come to another one of these stories, Joseph and his brothers. Another story of brotherly strife. In Joseph, we see how it could be an extreme example, because Joseph is the favorite of their father Jacob, symbolized by the coat that he receives and nobody else gets. And he has dreams of the whole family bowing down to him, and he tells them. So that's not a good recipe. We know what happens. He ends up being thrown into the pit and then sold as a slave. When I was studying Torah in Jerusalem, one of my favorite approaches from one of my teachers was to, whenever you study a parsha, you look at when the word comes up again and again, because there are very few words. The whole of the Tanakh has 8,000 words in it that are not names. That's how small the biblical vocabulary is, and Torah is even smaller. So words come up again and again, and every word has all kinds of shades of meaning. And it makes it actually, you would think it would make it less rich, but it makes it in some ways richer. And in this case, when you look at the beginning of our parsha, the word that comes up in the midst of this story over and over is actually the word shalom, peace. It's interesting. His brothers can't find a word of shalom to say about him, and he can't find a word about them to say. And his father keeps his peace when he sees all of this happen. And at a certain point, he turns to Joseph and he says, will you go see to the peace, to the shalom of your brothers? And Joseph probably thinks about it. He must have wondered, what should I do? But he does go and see to the shalom, to the peace of his brothers. And so we see then what happens after this, is what we've seen throughout the whole book of Genesis, when siblings and rivals don't find the peace. We see where it leads. It leads to violence, disregard for one another, fights for domination, taking advantage of the other's weaknesses, all that stuff that we now call biblical. Brothers and sisters, and it becomes nations, and then you reap what you sow, and it's never ending. And one of the central moments in this difficult narrative is Joseph, as just been mentioned, has been sent by his father to go to his brother's peace, to see to his brother's peace, which means he's going to be by himself facing his 10 brothers, far away from their father and from everybody else in the family. And so he's traveling all alone, and he can't find them. He has one more chance to turn away. He's at where they are, far away from their home. They're shepherding the flock. And he sees a man, and he asks the man, he goes see the man, and the man says, what do you want? Ma tevakesh. Ma tevakesh. What do you want? And Rashi says this wasn't just any man. This was the archangel Gabriel who was there and helping to clarify for Joseph what he wanted to do. And so Joseph, despite the danger, says, I'm seeking my brothers. Have you seen them? He points them right in the right way to go. So he ends up going to look for his brothers, and it's a long journey from there, everything that happens. And so maybe the teaching of the Torah is that whatever happens, you do have to try at least to have the courage to seek out the peace with your brothers, your sisters, with all those who you're not at peace with, if you can. And sometimes all you can do is try and find the peace. And of course, peace and shalom in Hebrew is not just peace, but it's well-being, it's wholeness, it's all those things that we're all seeking in our lives. And you have to find the places to make it happen, even when the road is long. And as the Torah shows, in all of those places in our lives where we're in this kind of struggle, sometimes it takes a lifetime until you realize, no, I don't want to struggle. Actually, what am I seeking? I'm seeking that peace. That's actually what I'm seeking. And when both sides realize it, suddenly it all makes sense. And so a thought in this coming to Hanukkah and the holidays and New Year's, and just like it is Thanksgiving and Passover, all these times, we're surrounded by family members, and sometimes there is some of that friction, right? Sometimes there is that struggle from being in close proximity with our families and other people. And the question that we ask ourselves at that moment, and maybe it helps us, Ma tevakesh, what is it that we're really seeking? What do we want from it? And how can that help us take a moment and to, of course, say, what is the answer? What every one of us is seeking. We're all seeking that shalom. We're all seeking peace, well-being, and joy. Shabbat shalom. Please rise for Eleni.